Hi, this is a quick video to show you how to use conditional formatting. It's a tool that I use a lot because it makes information jump off the page at you, and it will change dynamically as your data changes. And it just helps to bring data to life a little bit more, helps it to look more visual. And especially if you're working with people who are not financing, you're looking at finance numbers, or people who just don't like numbers in general, it helps them to give them something else to look at instead of the actual detail. They can kind of look at ticks and crosses and different colours and things like that. So I'm going to get straight into the spreadsheet. Let me just share the screen. So here's some data that we're going to use. So it's just a list of receipts. We've got the date of the receipt, the name of the supplier, the net, the VAT, the gross. So I'm going to apply some conditional formatting to this gross column, because if this was receipts, if the value was only 12 quid, it might be fine. We don't need to get that checked or authorised. So we could maybe just turn anything that's less than £50, turn those green, just that we know we don't need to worry about them. If the values are, I'm just going to change this one here. In fact, let me change that to 45. Okay, so if the value is 54, like this one, and it's between 50 and 100, we can maybe make it go yellow, because this is getting into the authorised bracket. And then if it's greater than 100, like this one, we could make it go red. So we know that all the red ones need to get authorised. The green ones don't need to worry about. The yellow ones, we'll just keep an eye on those. So what we'll do, before you apply any conditional formatting, I always recommend highlighting the whole column. Oh, wrong way. So highlight the whole range that you want to apply the conditional formatting to. In the home ribbon, we have halfway along conditional formatting. I normally give this with a bit of a warning to say don't get tempted, don't get sucked in, because when you click on conditional formatting, you get this gorgeous list of fabulous things that you can do. So if I hover over highlight cell rules, you get all these different options, and these are really like shortcuts. So I'm going to come back to these. So I'd say ignore these if you can. We'll come back to them at the end and I'll show you a bit more about them. In fact, these aren't sort of really going to drag you in, really. It's these data bars, because what can happen now is I can literally hover over a data bar and it will show you how it will appear in the cell, and they look pretty cool. We have these ones at the bottom as well. So these are solid fills as opposed to gradient fills at the top. So they're just different ways the colours will display. This one is colour scale, so it puts in little rainbows into your cells. The one that's really going to hopefully stuck you in is these icon sets. So these are cool. Look, you put arrows in your cells, you can put traffic lights, and they look really fab. You've got ticks and crosses, you can put little flags, you can even use gold stars. They were brand new, by the way, the gold stars in 2010. That's the last time Microsoft gave us any new icons, which really upsets me, but hey ho. So these are all the things that we can put in. What I would never recommend doing is just clicking on one. So I click on these ticks and crosses here. Oh, look, I put them in. Ooh, so I put them in, but the problem now is we don't understand the rules, okay? Which means we could be giving misleading information. So, for example, this one's 12 quid. It's got a red cross on, which makes it look like it's bad. When really, if we've not spent much, that's probably good. This one, where we spent a lot, has got an exclamation mark against it. So that says, oh, it might not be good. So it's not sure. If I could scroll down, oh, that 360 where I've spent the most money, it's got a green tick saying that's great. Which really, is that great? So I always recommend never just applying the conditional formatting like that, just because, unless you know how to understand the rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that, take them back off, and I'm going to show you how I'd recommend doing it instead. So conditional formatting, bypass all the lovely stuff and go to the bottom here where you get a new rule. So this is coming into the boring theory, essentially, but you will thank me. So let's go into new rule. So in here, the first thing we need to do is select a rule type. There's half a dozen different options here. Whichever one we select, it will change the rule description at the bottom. So this one, format cells based on their values. And you can see there we can choose a minimum and a maximum. You think, well, our rules are based on the values of cells being less than 50, between 50 and 100, or greater than 100. So that's not really going to help. So if I go to this option, format only cells that contain, and you can see here the rule description's changed. And we can format only cells with a cell value between, and there's pick list there, so we can make it greater than, equal to. Brilliant. This is the one we're going to use. Have a look at some of these others as well, because they're super simple to use. So I'm going to start by putting in my green rule. So I'm going to say format cells with cell value. Again, you can change that if you wanted blanks or no blanks or dates or whatever you need. So I'm going to leave it on cell value for now. I'm going to say, let's do the green rule. So I'm going to make it, if it's less than 50, I'm literally putting the amount in that cell there, 50. I can then, so that's my description. This is going to be the format that I select. So Excel is going to look down every single one of those cells. And if it finds any with a cell value less than 50, it's going to format them as I now define. So if I say go into fill and make it green, when I do green, I quite often change the font color to white as well. So that's the background fill and this is the font. Okay, so I've made it white. So basically now, any cells that have a cell value less than 50, Excel is going to make them formatted and look like that. Cool. So if I click OK, oh, lovely. So there's all our values that are less than 50 are now green. If I change that value there, if I change that to 100, the back changes. And this is a formula, by the way. So that's why I'm changing these values. So that's now not less than 50. So the green colour's disappeared. Okay, so what happens now is if I change that to something that is less than 50, it now goes green. So those colours are now going to apply automatically, which makes them even more accurate, which is genius. I'm just going to highlight all the cells again because I'm going to go back into conditional formatting and I'm going to put the yellow and the red rules in. So before I went into new rule, but just now I want to go into manage rules because we've already created a rule. So I just want to show you what that looks like. So in manage rules, there's our green rule, fab. I can now click new rule from here and I can choose the same rule type and I can put the yellow rule in. So here that's going to be a cell value between 50 and 100. That will do. I'm going to format those and they're going to have a fill of yellow, fab. So they're going to look like this. Cool. When I click OK now, because we're in the rule manager, it will take me back to the manager so I can see how the rules are building up. So we've got the two rules there. It also shows us the range that it applies to, which again makes it super simple. If we wanted to edit that range, if we had more rows, we wanted to extend it to row 50 or 200, we can just edit those ranges there, which is great. While I'm in here, I'm going to go and do the red rule. So new rule, format cells that contain cell value greater than. You could also do greater than or equal to if you're going to get figures dead on as well. And you can have play about with those. So here, these are going to be formatted in fill of red. Okay, we'll probably also do the font white as well. Okay, and that looks a little bit weedy. I'll make it bold, the font. That looks a bit better. Okay, so we'll click OK. So now we have three rules. They are applied in this order shown. So literally Excel is going to pick the first cell and go, is that got a cell value greater than 100? If it does, it'll make it red. The end. It won't ask any more questions. If it's not greater than 100, it will ask the next rule. And if it applies, it'll make it yellow. If not, it'll move on to the green rule. So I very carefully made sure that every one of those rules will apply to every value that it finds in that column. Okay, so that's the only thing you've got to be careful with. I'll click OK. And there you can see there's my red, amber, green applied already. So if I change that value there to 50, automatically the value turns yellow, the cell turns yellow because the value is in between 50 and 100. We change that one to 100. Obviously that goes red, which is bad. And if you're aware of filters, having filters at the top of the column, we can filter by the colours now, which is great because we know if we filter on the red ones, we know that they're all accurate and we know that those red ones are all the values that are greater than 100 without us having to apply filters, again, selecting the values. Okay, so let's put those all back on. So that is conditional formatting in a nutshell. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to highlight the cells again and I'm going to go back into conditional formatting. I'm going to go into icon set and I'm going to do what I told you not to do before. I'm literally going to select this, this conditional format because we now understand how to change the rules. Okay, so I've put it in. And again, we can see that these colours on the background fill are mismatched with those icons. They're not sort of in line, really. So we certainly know that the rules that have been applied for those icons are quite different to what we wanted. So now that they're in, we can go into conditional formatting, into manage rules. And now we can see these are the three rules we set up. And then this is the icon set. So now that we better understand how to put the rules in, we can just go into this one and edit the rule. Okay, and you'll see it takes us straight back to the select a rule type. And weirdly, it selected this first option, which before had that minimum and maximum thing, didn't it? So we ignored it. This for me is like platform 9 3/4, where to change your icon set is hiding in plain sight. Okay, and it's because here at the very top we have a format style. So this is set to icon sets, okay, which is why it looks like this at the bottom and not the minimum and maximum. Let me just cancel that for a second. Because if I go to a very brand new cell and I'm going to do new rule, you'll see select your rule type, format cells based on their values. There's your minimum, there's your maximum, because it defaults to a 2-colour scale. which is why it has the minute max. I could have from there just changed that to an icon set, and it would have changed all of those settings at the bottom. But because that's not very obvious when you first go into that, you think, oh no, there'll be a better rule. So people wait for that. So let's go back into this. I'm going to go back into conditional formatting, manage rules, and there's our icon set. I can edit the rule. So here, if I wanted to change the icon style, I could from here change it to those traffic lights or anything that I wanted, really. In fact, let's go to those flags. Okay, so the way the rules have been defined, and some of these rules are a bit crazy, so I don't know why this would be relevant, but it's really important that you know how to change them so you can make sure that they're what you need. So this is showing a green flag when the value is greater than or equal to 67%. And by that, it means 67% of the column total. I don't know why. We know we want it to be green when the value is less than 50 as a number. Okay, so let's start changing our symbols. Unfortunately, the only option we can have there is greater than or equal to or greater than. So the problem is we can't have green at the top. However, good news, we've got reverse icon order. So I can switch that order. So it puts the red rule at the top. Brilliant. So our red rule is going to be when the value is greater than or equal to, we'll leave it at that, 100 as a number. Now, top tip, when you change the type here, it resets the value to 0. So never do your value first. Okay. So if I change this to number instead of percent, there's our naught, I can then type that as 100. Brill. Now, when I click on this yellow flag, it will update this part of the yellow rule. So I'll just show you what it's going to do. There you go. So it's going to make it yellow when the value is less than 100 and greater than or equal to, and we're going to make that 50 as a number. So that's the same as between, isn't it? So we'll make this number and then we can change that to 50. And then you'll notice here on the green rule, we can't edit any of that. So if we click on the green flag, it updates automatically. So it's going to be green when the value is less than 50. Cool. So if I click OK now, and then OK to our rule manager, you'll see our flags should be the same color as the background fill now because the logic is the same on both icons. Okay. The really cool thing about having the icons is when we go on the filter by color, or actually we can filter by icon as well, which is really cool. We can also sort by those icons. So now that we can see how cool those icons are, those background fills don't look that cool, do they? So let's go and quickly delete those. So back into conditional formatting, into manage rules. I'm literally going to select that green one and do delete, and the yellow one delete, and the red one delete. Click OK. Just going to leave the flags in because they look way better without the background fill. Okay, and because we can filter by them, we really don't need the background fill anymore. So hopefully that's a great insight for you on conditional formatting, and you can make your spreadsheets look much more snazzy. Thank you.